They say that to love is to give without reservation, that a kind heart is an open door. We grow up with this quiet belief that our worth is tied to our availability, that to be good is to be endlessly accessible. But then we encounter someone who does not operate this way. Someone who says no without a novel of excuses. Someone who protects their silence. We might label them as cold, difficult, or guarded. But what if we have misunderstood them entirely? What if the person with the strongest walls is not trying to keep you out, but is simply trying to hold themselves together? This is a film about the misunderstood language of self-preservation. It is time to look beyond the no and see the person standing behind it. Let us begin. We often mistake the fortress for the prisoner. From the outside, the person with strong boundaries can appear like a structure with all the windows sealed, penetrable, perhaps even lifeless. You knock, and there is no immediate answer. You call out, and the silence that returns feels heavy, like a door that has been closed for a very long time. The world interprets this as rejection. It whispers, "They do not care." But architecture is not built for no reason. Fortresses are not erected in peaceful valleys. They are built on borders that have been invaded. To sit behind a wall is not to be without feeling. It is to be tired of feeling everything. The person with boundaries has simply realized something that the rest of the world is still learning. That the door to their soul must have a lock, or anyone can walk in and track mud across the floor. They are not protecting themselves from you. They are protecting the sacred, quiet space inside them that they have only just begun to furnish with self-respect. Their silence is not a lack of warmth. It is the moat, guarding a fire they are not ready to share with just anyone. To understand the adult who guards their perimeter, you have to walk the dusty roads of their childhood. They were often the ones who were told they were too much or not enough in the same breath. The child who learned early that their emotions were an inconvenience, a burden to the adults around them. Perhaps they were the peacemaker, the one who had to shrink themselves to keep the house quiet. Or perhaps they were the invisible one, whose needs were a distant echo in a room full of louder voices. For these children, the word yes became a survival tool. Yes, to keep the peace. Yes, to be loved. Yes, to prove they were worthy of existing. But a soul cannot survive on a diet of constant yes. Eventually, the body rebels. The child discovers, often in adolescence or early adulthood, that the only word that belongs entirely to them is no. It is the first brick they lay. It is not born of spite, but of a desperate, quiet arithmetic. If I give away any more of myself, there will be nothing left. The boundary begins as a whispered prayer for self-preservation in a world that taught them their voice did not matter. Imagine that every human interaction is a transaction, not of money, but of a finite, invisible resource. Your emotional energy. Most people walk through the world with an open wallet, handing out coins of attention, empathy, and patience freely, often without noticing the balance. But the person with boundaries, they are acutely, almost painfully, aware of the balance. They operate within a strict energy economy. For them, a simple conversation is not just an exchange of words. It is an expenditure. A request for help is not just a task. It is a withdrawal from their reserve. They feel the weight of small talk, the drain of unreciprocated emotional labor, the exhaustion of performing social pleasantries. This is not arrogance. This is the reality of a nervous system that has learned to feel deeply and therefore must spend carefully. They guard their energy not because they are greedy, but because they know the cost of running on empty. They know that if they give you their last coin, they will have nothing left to buy their own peace with. Their boundaries are not walls to keep treasures in. They are the walls of a well, ensuring the water does not run dry. This is perhaps the most misunderstood chapter in their story. Look at them from the outside, calm, composed, unwavering. The world sees a stone heart. It assumes that because they do not bleed publicly, they do not bleed at all. But the truth is often the opposite. Beneath the carefully maintained exterior, there is often a heart that feels too much. It is a heart that has been sunburned by the world and has grown a thicker skin to protect itself from the light. The inner conflict is a silent war. When they say no, a part of them feels the sting of guilt. They hear the echo of old voices telling them they are selfish. They lie awake, wondering if they were too harsh, too distant, too cold. They carry the weight of disappointed faces in a pocket close to that stone heart. But they have learned a brutal lesson, that to say yes to preserve someone else's comfort is often to say no to their own sanity. Their detachment is not a lack of care. It is the result of caring too much for too long and realizing that the world will take until there is nothing left but a hollow statue. They choose to be the statue, intact and whole, rather than the dust scattered by the wind. There comes a moment, a quiet, uncelebrated turning point. It might arrive in the middle of a Tuesday or during a long, solitary walk. It is the moment the person with boundaries stops apologizing for the architecture of their soul. For years, their no felt like a failure, a sign that they could not cope, that they were broken. But in this silence, a new thought takes root. They realize that the people who are unsettled by their boundaries are often the same people who benefited from their lack of them. The discomfort of others is not their responsibility to soothe. This is the silence after the storm. The moment the rain stops and they can finally hear their own thoughts clearly. They see that their boundaries have not destroyed their relationships. They have filtered them. The chaotic, the demanding, the emotionally negligent. These people drift away, unable to climb the wall. And that is not a loss. It is a clarity. What remains is not noise, but signal. The few who wait at the gate, who do not try to break it down, who understand that the lock is not a personal insult. These are the ones who are worthy of the garden inside. The fortress, they realize, was never a prison. It was a sieve. Integration is not about dismantling the walls. It is about installing a gate. The person who once protected themselves with rigid stone learns that some things are safe to let in. Gentle things, respectful things. They learn that a boundary is not a line in the sand that says stay out, but a circle drawn in the earth that says this is where I stand. They begin to breathe in the open. The no becomes softer, less of a shield and more of a simple statement of fact. I cannot do that. I need some time. That does not work for me. It loses its charge. It is no longer a battle cry. It is just a preference. They discover that self-preservation is not a life sentence to isolation. It is the foundation upon which genuine connection can finally be built. Because when you know where you end and another begins, you can finally show up. Not as a fractured, desperate version of yourself, but as a whole person. The walls become a sanctuary, a place where they can rest. And from that place of rest, they can finally choose to love, not from a place of lack, but from a place of quiet, inexhaustible abundance. So many of us are learning, quietly and bravely, that the art of saying no is just another way of saying yes to the person we are becoming. If you would like to stay connected to this space, a place where we explore the hidden architecture of the human soul without judgment, without rush, we would be honored to have you here. Consider subscribing if it feels right, as a gentle way of telling yourself that your inner world matters. And if something in this film stirred a memory, a thought, or a quiet recognition, you are welcome to share it in the comments. Not because you owe the world an explanation, but because your words might be the lantern that helps someone else find their own gate. Sharing is not a requirement. It is simply an invitation, a doorway if you choose to walk through it. Take care of yourself. You deserve the peace that lives on the other side of your own yes. If you've made it to the end of this reflection, we'd love to know where in the world you're watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments. Let's see how far this message travels. And if this story resonated, please like and subscribe to PsychPaint for more explorations of the human heart.